You were listening to episode 113 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody here at the Game Deflators Podcast. We like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and excuse me, I have to go. Somewhere there was a crime happening in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge!
Dude, I'm guessing RoboCop could see into the future because there was definitely a crime happening of our gameplay this week. That was hard, dude.
Yeah, we played some RoboCop 3 for the Sega Genesis this week, and we got our asses absolutely handed to us on normal, so we went into the options, we turned it down to easy, and eventually we bested an army of rocket launcher wielding bad guys.
Dude, that was insane. So the key thing is, we haven't played the RoboCop games before, and we were just like, well, let's give it a shot. That was difficult. Like any platformer, though, I mean, it's just practice gets better, so you consistently play it. We consistently played that first level, which is kind of sad to say that that's how far we got. It was beating the first level and going into the second one. But, I had fun with it regardless. It's like any platformer. Just keep playing it, keep grinding through, and eventually you'll learn the different parts of the stages, where things go, and where enemies are coming from, and where to hit them, and how to dodge. That stuff just kind of comes naturally. So, I always feel like if we had a good 8 to 10 hours to just sit back and learn a game and just grind through platformers consistently, we'd be fine.
We'd probably be a lot better at games.
We probably would be. But,
moving on.
Yeah, exactly. So this week we'll be talking about a few different cool things. We've got Polygon's top 50 most anticipated games of 2021. No, we are not going to go through the full list of 50. We just went through and said, hey, here's my top 3. Ryan gave me 4 for some reason. He wrote an extra. We're going to look at the biggest video game disappointments of 2020 and the trends that we feel need to end moving into 2021. And there's a couple others. Wow, we got 4 articles this week. Apple has removed 39,000 game apps from its China store to meet a deadline, so we'll get into that. And of course, what is next on Google Stadia's roadmap for 2021. So lots of cool things this week. But Ryan, we'll get it started. What did you pick up? I'm going to guess nothing.
Yep, exactly. I picked up my Switch and played a bunch of Hades.
So how is Hades?
Dude, Hades is so good. So last week, I think I'd done a run or two before I came over and we did the podcast. But this week, I finally beat my first run. It took me 32 tries to get there, and I got through with the Exegriff first, which I would not have thought would be the weapon that I would go the furthest with the quickest. But hey, it was good. It was fun. I love all of the different things that are going on in this game. It's got so much going for it. If you haven't heard of Hades, it's a roguelite. You go through, it's very similar to a lot of the other Supergiant games. Artistic wise, it's amazing. It's got that same kind of perspective as Transistor did, but it's a lot more meant to be played as an action game. You could play Transistor action-y, but it was way better to play it with the plotting out mode and stuff. But this is all balls to the wall action, dodging, not like shmup, but sort of like shmup bullet farm stuff. Sometimes lots of, you got 6 different weapons that all play totally differently. You've got all of these different, gods. It's all based off the Greek pantheon. So every time you lose a run, you start back in Hades, and it's a part of the story that you're dying and coming back, but it's because you're already in the underworld. Where else are you going to go when you die? So you just kind of start back over. And every time you go into the starting area, which is your father's hall, and there's a lounge and your bedroom and stuff, you run into different characters in there and you have conversations. So every time you die, you have more stuff to talk to them about, and it's all no repeated dialogue. It just keeps going. There's more and more. So I've already died 30 plus times and gone back and talked to all these different characters and had over 30 unique lines of dialogue. Not everybody's there every run. There's different currencies that you're farming for different purposes. So there's this item that you give to everybody, and each time you give it to somebody for the first time.
I can't edit that out.
Yeah. They'll give you like a starting item that you can use that gives you like a passive boon to run through the game on. So you could keep giving those to people, and I think eventually they'll give you more stuff. There's like, once you beat it the first time, you can go through and it adds like a challenge to it where you can like, you have a whole list of different things that'll increase the difficulty, and then that allows you to farm for more items to be able to unlock more stuff. And it's just like, it just keeps churning out more and more and more. And it's like, even though you're going through the same 4 levels over and over again, all the rooms are randomly generated. The enemy arrangements are always pretty challenging. All of the different gods that you run into each time to get like different abilities and the ability to upgrade your weapon for a run and stuff like that. All that's all random. So it's like you go through and you start to like build different like actual builds out of what you're given. So it kind of keeps it fresh, even though it's the same thing over. It's sucking me in just like Cave Blazers did, but
there might be an end to this where you can actually.
It's a much more satisfying game than Cave Blazers ever was. Like, I had so much fun and played that game for so long, but it's like there's way more to this, because it's like there's actual dialogue and characters, and the art is like absolutely incredible, and I want to keep talking to these people and learn more. And it's like, after finally making it out on your first run, it's like got a really good excuse for why you have to go back, why you have to do it again, why you need to keep getting out. So hopefully I'm up to the challenge, and we'll see how far I can get. But it is the new year, and I will be starting my inflation deflation from last year again very soon. More on that in the future.
That sounds good, man. For anybody wondering, Ryan does talk of his hands, so every now and then you'll hear a nice bang go through our recordings. That would be Ryan. Or myself, because I like to talk with my hands. Ryan more so than me, though.
Yes, very exaggerated.
Yeah, very exaggerated. He's just like karate chop onto the mic.
Wah-hoo-ha.
So that sounds all good, man. This week I went ahead and played some Apex Legends. So Justin, of course, I told him this. I was like, I have not played a first-person shooter like Call of Duty or anything along those lines in years, because I know once I get into it, I'm going to want to keep playing it, and that's just how I am with those types of games. And the fact that I didn't have to invest any money into this game makes it even better. So played a lot of Apex Legends. I got my first win today, as a matter of fact, which was pretty badass. How'd that happen? Got a lot of headshots, got some nice kills going on in there. And of course, I'll probably be playing more of it. The other game we were playing, my wife and I, Dragon's Crown, it hasn't taken a back burner. We've just been busy this week, so we didn't get a chance to play it. And then Jade Cocoon definitely has been on the back burner for a little bit, but I am going to finish that game. I
join the unfinishing side.
No, I will never join the unfinishing side. I've been off that side for a long time. If I stop a game, it's because I literally just don't like it, and I've gone in for maybe a couple hours and said, yep, this isn't for me. I don't usually progress through an entire story and then just like quit it.
Oh, it's the best part.
No, it's not. It's terrible. And then my pickups this week, I got Akiba's Beat on the PS4. So continuing my pickups of exclusives for the PlayStation 4, as well as RPGs while they are on the down low. And the other one I got was AI Somnium Files on the Nintendo Switch. This one I'm kind of frustrated with, because I saw several collector's editions sitting at like $35 through GameStop. I'm like, it's not, there's a few of them out in the area. Like, it's probably not that good of a game. And then I started seeing like positive feedback on this game, and then started seeing it going for like $60 to $80 used on eBay. And I'm like, yeah, I should probably grab this, because this is probably one of those like super limited print run type games on both the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch that you're just going to have to grab. I mean, when those situations come up, that's when I'll honestly buy a game at retail, like a GameStop, if it's available. So that was the only one for like 100 miles in our area, by the way. And it happened to be right down the road from me, as a matter of fact. So that worked out. Literally one copy within 100 miles, and it was right down the road from me. So I grabbed that. But that was it. So I'll have more feedback on Apex Legends next week as I continue my, addiction to that game. Ryan, before we move into our articles, I, of course, have trivia.
I thought you forgot.
No. See, while you were talking, that's what I was looking for.
I figured.
Yeah. All right. There's a couple here, but let me go through this one. Let me do this one really quick. What classic video game was named because the creator misunderstood a translation?
Oh man, I know this one. Oh, gosh.
This one kind of shocks me. In a sense. You should know it though.
I know. I feel like I've heard this before.
I'm going to give you the 5-second countdown. 5, 4.
I know this isn't the right answer. I'm just going to say Kirby.
No. Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
So because the creator thought that donkey meant stupid in English. Yeah. Little did he know, it meant jackass.
Stupid Kong.
Yeah, stupid Kong. Well, this one's Jackass Kong. So if he went by English translation, Jackass Kong. All right. Let's go through this list, man. We're not going to go through the full list. You could probably name off like the top 5 that are on there, but Polygon's 50 most anticipated games of 2021. This is by Michael McWhorter, it looks like, and a whole bunch of other people that collaborate on this. And of course, it's at Polygon on Twitter.
And the whole Polygon team.
Yeah, whole Polygon. Well, not the whole Polygon team, but a
Polygon
good bit of
staff.
them. Yeah, Polygon staff did this one. So, do you want to go through? Like, I mean,
there's all kinds of stuff on this list, but the things that have me the most excited are Hollow Knight Silksong, and I know that we're gonna get some magazines got like a full spread on that's coming out like I think this week or something. I was hearing people talk about it. That the first Hollow Knight was so good. Like I never finished that obviously because that's not what I do here, but I had a ton of fun with it. I love the music. I love the art. I love everything about it, and being able to play as another character and see more of that world has me really excited. So that's going to be great. Finally, Blast from the Past. Hopefully this year we'll get some new Pokemon Snap. Like that's been something that everybody's been dying for every Nintendo console since the N64. And I, for one, am very hopeful. It is a new era where there's, a lot more that goes into games. And the original Pokemon Snap, while being incredible, it doesn't offer a whole lot of content for what it has. And now that there's
now it's
over 800 Pokemon or something, and you can fit a lot more game into a space and people expect a lot more, I want to see if this is going to be a full price game and not like a $40 release, I want to see a full on huge big Pokemon Snap world. I'm still fine with the on rails, all that stuff. That's still good. I don't need it to be some weird open world thing, because I feel like that would almost be less engaging than the level based approach that they could do to really design the environment and have things set up, because there was a lot of challenge in trying to discover new things and stuff in the original. So I think that they could do so much better, and it'd be just so great. I can't wait for that. And then lastly, I've been waiting for the Playdate all 2020, and it didn't come out. So
you pre-ordered that, didn't you?
No, they didn't have the pre-order option go live as far as I've seen, but they're gonna make enough for everyone, they said. Originally I think it was supposed to be a more limited thing, and the demand has been so great. So
that shocks me, seriously. I look at that thing and it's just not up my alley.
It's got the appeal for me just because it's going to be that type of system that you can keep in your pocket and be able to play anywhere, and I love that idea. I mean, obviously I got my Game Boy Micro. Didn't you get me? Somebody got me a Digimon this year, a little Tamagotchi style Digimon. I don't know, it must have been somebody else. But there's I love that idea of being able to pull something out, but a lot of the times it's too much effort. I feel like if whatever you have is inside of a case, you need to pull the case out, you better be sitting down. You can't be standing up in a line waiting for something that you have to put away and then put that away. So this would be a real small little thing that you can actually take out, flip out, play something on, and all the games are that type of game. They're all going to be small, short experiences that'll be fun to play on the go. So I'm looking for a great time killer out of this thing.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, so my list is a little more hoping here that they even get released in 2021, just due to delays and
I
other
left
types of
this
stuff.
first one on your list, by the way, because I'm also super stoked for it, and I didn't want to put it on my list.
Okay,
So
so
I figured we could share that first one.
you technically have 4 then. All right.
We both have 3.5.
Elden Ring. That is the first one that I am excited about. We saw a little bit of teaser type stuff back in 2019
Yeah,
for
I
that
think
one.
E3 2019.
Yeah, and then nothing.
Or was it 2018 even?
Man, I don't even know. It had to be 2019 because we didn't really get into heavy recording until late 2018.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to say it was E3 of 2019. They showed something on this, and I mean, dude, come on. You've got George R. R. Martin teaming up with it's a From Software team, right, to get this one out there, and I mean, I'm excited to see what they come up with. It could be Dark Souls style. It could be just standard adventure. It could be a flippin', you know, narrative. You know, just go around and just kind of read dialogue, whatever it may be. Like, I want to see what they come out with.
Well, we've seen so many dark or Souls-like games out there that never quite meet up to what we want from From Software and the real guys behind Dark Souls and Demon Souls and all that stuff. But it's every time they come up with something new, they hit it out of the park. Everybody loves Bloodborne. Everybody loves Sekiro. And everybody keeps loving Dark Souls. But it's every time they go out into something else, they absolutely kill it. So it's no reason why they're not going to do that again.
Yeah, I think the only one that's gotten it right so far has technically been Neo number 2. I want to say was, from what I've read, was pretty good. And that might be the only one that's been successful outside of it that I can honestly think of with that same model, right?
I mean, the Surge 2 got pretty good reviews, I think.
Well, maybe I should look into that one.
It's like a sci-fi.
Oh, really? Sci-fi style?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Code Vein, there's a lot of people have high praise on that, but I've also heard it's kind of clunky as well. So I want to say Game Grinder beat that one.
Code Vein's the
good.
anime one, right?
Yeah, that's the anime style one. So either way, I'm really excited to see the storytelling components coming from that as well. And isn't Guillermo del Toro tied in this one too?
I don't know.
I want to say he was. I'm not 100%. The other one I'm interested in is Hogwarts Legacy. So if you grew up not listening, but reading the Harry Potter books, watching the Harry Potter movies and such.
Listening to your parents read you the Harry Potter books.
Okay, I didn't get that far. I had to read them on my own. This is something that truly excites me. We talked about this 2 years ago when we first saw a screenshot that was leaked, and we're like, is there a Harry Potter RPG? Well, hell yeah, there's a Harry Potter RPG, and it's in works. And so this is one I definitely want to play for the idea of just being able to explore Hogwarts. And it gives you that experience of, oh, my letter came and now I got to go to Hogwarts and explore and do my thing like I would do in Hogwarts. You're not playing the role of Harry Potter in the Chamber of Secrets or any of those other games. You're your own person in this game, learning what you want to learn, and it sounds like open world exploration. So I'm super stoked to see what this, turns into. And I just know damn well whenever I get it, my wife is going to want to play it every single day, and I will never get the opportunity to play it. This will be her game for a year, I'm sure.
I'm surprised it took them so long to do this idea.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things that the idea has been there, but it was you know what? Let's wait until the technology catches up to our idea so we can put out a full-blown experience. Because imagine if this is in VR. You had that VR component being able to go through Hogwarts. Oh my God, would that be insane? The next one that you kept on my list, I wanted to remove it because it was such an obvious, is Horizon Forbidden West. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. I loved the Frozen Wilds. I loved every piece of that game. It was my game of the year several years ago, or it was tied for my game of the year several years ago. And I want more. And I hope that they don't disappoint. I will likely get a special edition of this game whenever I see those pre-orders. Hopefully they aren't out and I missed it. But I will not miss out on the special edition version of this. Even if I'm sitting on a PS5 copy for several years, I will get this game in advance. So I'm stoked on that. And the next one that I'm pretty excited about was Kena Bridge of Spirits. Has that cutesy, animation going for it. It's, action adventure style game, and it just looks cool.
It had a really strong, trailer.
Yeah, that trailer was really strong, and I'm excited for it. I mean, what I saw in that game, the gameplay I saw, as well as the trailer, just got me excited. It's going to be on PS4. It's going to be on PS5. Do I get it on PS5? I'm not sure yet. If it's on PC, do I just get it on there? There's a lot of questions I got to ask myself here on what I do with this game. But that's another one that definitely excites me. So, if you have any games that are exciting you for 2021, definitely let us know on thegamedeflators.com via comments on this episode. Social media at Game Deflators on Twitter, at The Game Deflators on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, you can find us on social media, or not social media, you can find us on podcast applications, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever podcasts are found, we should be on there. And if we're not, you let us know, and hopefully we'll get on there. And of course, 5-star reviews.
6 if you can.
All right. The next thing we got going here is the biggest video game disappointments of 2020. This is Ethan Gach at Kotaku. Ryan, what are the disappointments of they listed?
Man, lots of bad news this year in 2020. Not just COVID, but all of the video game people that we love did bad. They did bad stuff. So the first thing, I can't get this article to open, John.
Dude, that article is having trouble with too, like just the pop-ups and it wouldn't load properly. Kotaku, get your stuff together.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
Okay.
All right.
So, the first thing they list in here is actually probably the least offensive thing on the list, and that's that Halo Infinite got delayed. I mean, it's a huge disappointment for anybody that managed to get their hands on a Series S or a Series X and was really looking forward to having, that awesome killer first-party launch title to go along with their console. And it didn't happen because of the terribly weak trailer that they showed off earlier this year that everyone just freaked out at them about. So delays happened all year for all kinds of things. It'll come out next year. It'll be better.
You mean this year?
This year. It'll come out this year. It'll be better for having waited. And I think people will move past that, and that'll be fine. The next one, also kind of related, buying a next-gen console's a shit show. Sure is, John.
Yeah. And
so
buying a GPU, too.
Yeah.
And shoes. And video games in general.
Bots, people. 2020, year of the bots. The robots are taking over the world and making everybody very angry and sad and disappointed and bad Christmas, and making a lot of other people a shit ton of money.
Yeah, we need to have a movie released on that where the robots are taking over and it's just bots buying everybody's products.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what a 2020 film. There's bots and they're buying all the toilet paper.
Oh, gosh. So, this is... Again, this is bad. This is something that upsets everybody, but really, it's always hard to get a new launch console. It may not be this hard, especially because this year, they were not doing in-store purchases. Like, I have a feeling this would have been a lot less of an issue had they been stocking stores and people could wait in lines and people could safely go outside. Like, this would have been a lesser issue. Still an issue, but we're not there yet. Been talking about it for weeks. Been talking about it for months. Some people have been talking about it for the greater part of a decade. Cyberpunk 2077 sucks.
Well, I wouldn't say it sucks.
It sucks for some people.
But you know what? What's funny is...
It sucks for most people.
So Justin bought it, and I think I talked about this several weeks ago, and he was super stoked. He's like, oh, I'm not having any issues. I'm loving Cyberpunk. It's so great. We're sitting there playing Apex Legends. I'm like, I haven't seen Cyberpunk on you're currently playing for some time. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to wait for the AI and everything to be better and for this to be fixed and for these glitches to be fixed and this to be fixed. I'm like, yeah, sounds like I was right. You should have listened to the Game Deflators before you bought that game. Like I had literally just talked to him about it. And he's like, oh yeah, it'll fix it. There'll be updates and everything else. I'm like, dude, you're going to be waiting for a while. And he's right in that boat. He's like, I'm just going to wait. Go on though. Go on.
Well, and, who wants to have their first playthrough of, like, an amazing game ruined by all that stuff? Like, more people should be willing to wait. And, there were several delays with this game. And CD Projekt Red totally misrepresented what the product they were going to be delivering was.
On the PS4 side, at least. Because I know I was just looking at some posts. Game Grinder just beat it. So John or Church went ahead and beat on his channel. And yeah, he didn't have any issues. He said like very minimal issues. But for him, it was...
What was he playing
He was
on?
playing on PC.
Okay.
So like that makes sense. And his PC rig is actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I can see where he didn't have any issues and where a lot of console gamers may not have had as many issues. Justin was playing on the PS4. So for him, definitely a misrepresentation. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, like with Halo Infinite, you know, it's just going to take some people a little while until they can really be able to enjoy it. Next on the list, Nintendo's war on fans. This we talked about a couple months ago. And, you know, Nintendo is no stranger to, you know, coming off as this happy, friendly, you know, we're in it together, like as the underdog of gamers, you know, like they've got this huge, massive, loyal following, but they're not really the mainstream of gaming anymore like they used to be. You know, I feel like more people really push out for the, you know, either casual mobile markets or for the more hardcore console markets. And even though Nintendo's wildly successful all the time, you feel like a stronger bond with them because of how they present themselves and stuff. But they are no stranger to attacking and lashing out and doing stupid shit that nobody likes, like shutting down Melee tournaments because they're using some kind of hack tool to be able to get people to play online and connect together during a really tough time, and them just being like, nope, you can't. And then consequently shutting down other tournaments that are being hosted in a way that they deem acceptable, but are having protest messages against the other tournament that was shut down with hashtag free Melee and stuff like that. So,
yeah, Nintendo has never, I mean, they've never really been known as like that, you know, second party using their products and stuff, or like, you know, in the case of emulators and all that, which is fine, you know, they're protecting their property, but something like that, like the whole Melee issue of shutting down tournaments and such just because people are doing it online. So, like, you know what, Nintendo, how about, you know, you step up and say, with our finances, we're going to create an environment where you can play that game, or we're going to release it on the Switch so you can host tournaments with this game. But they're just all in on their current product and very much on the lines of, oh, well, we released that 30 years ago. We're not going to touch it, but hey, you can't touch it either because it's our product. You can't do anything with it. And that's, I think, what's the most frustrating is like, it's kind of like the old Disney vault that they used to do for like the VHS tapes and DVD and such. Like, it's out of a vault. Like, now you can rebuy it and you can watch it again. Nintendo doesn't do that crap. They just have it in the vault forever for the most part. Outside of like the releases of SNES and NES games that they kind of, you know, put in every now and then on the Switch Online. But even so, like, they have the ability to hopefully, or, you know, maybe release every single Switch game or every Nintendo, SNES, GameCube. They have the ability to put those games through emulation or whatever it may be on their consoles and sell it to you for whatever amount. Like, can you imagine if they took the entire SNES library, threw it on Switch Online, and said, pay $5?
Well, the thing is, I mean, they've done so many resales before. It's like, I wonder if it's just that people are maybe more tired of having to rebuy the stuff again and again and again to own it on their latest console and not ever having those purchases transfer over towards a future console. I mean, I'm pretty sure that, like, if you bought something on Xbox 360, like an arcade game, you could probably go through your Microsoft account profile and get that on your new Xbox now, probably. But good luck doing that with, you know, any of the digital stuff that you bought for your Wii.
Yeah.
You can't get that stuff back. You could go back and play it on your Wii if you want.
And that's what's so funny about people who say, oh, I'm going digital, and like, I don't know why you guys complain about it so much. Like, physical's the way to go, or not the way to go, like, because it takes up space. Okay, well, great. When, you know, you're 3 generations down the road, I can still play my games on that old console. Good luck, you know, if your console breaks or if you have to replace it or something along those lines, and you've lost all that content. You can't play it again because maybe you forgot your password, or your account is shut down, or, you know, you no longer want to play it on that console because of space issues and you want to play on the new thing. So, yeah, I can see, you know, where that's always an issue. But at the end of the day, it's Nintendo's, you know, content. They can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that list?
Next up, the ugliness around The Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us Part 2, hugely anticipated game. everybody was, who played the first one had been really clamoring for this. You were really excited for it, but it had a lot of backlash, and it got really ugly, and there's a lot of stupid people out there on the internet that are giving gamers a bad name and, really not being nice to people.
Well, I think the backlash on it was both warranted and not warranted. So, the backlash regarding Ellie and having, a lesbian protagonist and or not lesbian antagonist, although people were saying a trans antagonist, which she wasn't. She was just a muscular woman. And, I think there was a lot of backlash on that, which was ridiculous because, okay, if you don't agree with it, don't play it. And I know there was a whole thing around that we had talked about a while back when the game was being released, and there was a lot of that backlash occurring, was, well, don't shove it down my throat. Okay, well, it's not your story to tell. Go play another game. If you don't like the story, then don't play it.
Yeah, there's plenty of other games out there that you can do similar things, and if that's not what you want to experience, there's lots of options.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to go online and yell and scream into the void about how you feel personally wronged by other people being represented.
Well, and the DLC called out that, Ellie was a lesbian. So at the end of the day, like, you had, the better part of 5 years, 3 years, whatever it may have been since that was released, to kind of come to grips with that and determine if you wanted to play a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
The part where I think, there was probably the most backlash that was warranted was Joel, and how he was showcased in the trailers and such and in certain scenes. And then, of course, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't played yet, which by now I would hope you know or aren't living under a rock, of Joel dying in the very beginning by Abby's hands. I think that right there kind of frustrated a lot of people. I missed those spoilers before I played, so I was very much like, anytime I saw Last of Us or whatever, I skipped over it right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I never did have that spoiled for me, so that was a shocker when I actually came across it and what happened. But I didn't really dig into a lot of Last of Us 2 trailers for the most part. I saw a few, got excited about the fact that I was playing as Ellie.
You knew you were going to play it. You didn't have to ruin anything for yourself.
Yeah, and I knew I was going to be playing as Ellie. I never had an expectation I was going to play as Joel in that game. I never did. I thought Joel was going to be like
a side character
on the back end who would say, no, I don't want you to go. And she would determine that she has to go out and do what she needed to do. I never anticipated Joel as a playable character. So for me, when that happened, I was like, oh shit, he died and everything. Like, that sucks. But it wasn't like a huge disappointment where I was like throwing up my arms wanting to burn my copy of Last of Us 2, because I never had the expectation to play as Joel. So it wasn't really a downer for me. But go on. What else we got here?
And then lastly, and this takes the cake and was, just a terrible bit of news to come out, but Ubisoft is an absolute mess. They've been harboring and protecting and moving around harassers and abusers for years and years, and there's a slew of employees that have come out. I think it said that, 25% of people in a company-wide survey said that they've witnessed or experienced misconduct firsthand, while 1 in 5 reported not feeling fully respected or safe in their work environment. And this is, way worse than Crunch, and Crunch is its own awful, terrible thing. But these are the video game companies that have these management teams that just don't care about anybody that works there, and they're either too incompetent or they're compliant in what's happening there. They're failing their employees and letting awful stuff happen, or they're too dumb to know that it's happening, and how are they in that position to begin with? Like, there's so much, that goes into making a game, such huge amounts of teams and people and money and effort, and the management is the one that does seemingly the least amount of the actual effort and gets all the benefit, and everybody else just gets treated like crap, and it sucks. And, it's good that this came out. It's terrible that it's been happening, and that it's been happening for that long, and that it's been happening to that many people.
Well, and the fact is still not even widely publicized, even right now. One of the things that, they had a gaffe, I think it was on social media, where they said the reason that they removed all the female assassins from an Assassin's Creed trailer was because female assassins were like hard to develop or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like we're in an era where we have entire games that are dedicated to female protagonists. And you're going to say we couldn't put a female assassin in a trailer because it is hard to develop female characters. Really?
Too hard to animate.
Look, I'm no SJW by all means, but that's some bullshit. That's not exactly a difficult ask. And on top of that, why wouldn't you want to put female characters in a trailer? Because all it's going to do is branch out to the female audience who may want to now play that game because there's a female main character.
Mm-hmm.
It's absurd, and the fact that it's still occurring with Ubisoft, and even right now is probably still being swept under the rug, and probably they have ongoing issues, I'm sure, it's kind of sad in itself. So
yeah, and then they also took Black Lives Matter symbol and used it as the like
a
evil bad guy terrorists in a new Tom Clancy game that looks like a garbage game that nobody's gonna want to play anyways. And it's like, oh my gosh, come on,
man! Tom Clancy,
you gotta be with the times. Like, you can't use like the power fist as like a negative thing. Look around you. Look at the world. Look what's happening. You can't do that.
Yeah, Tom Clancy games have been horrible since, I guess, Splinter Cell, for the most part, on like the Xbox and PS2 and such. I don't think I've heard like extremely positive reviews over a Clancy game in years.
Yeah.
So who knows?
It's all just more open world Ubisoft nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. Did we get one on the PS4? A Tom Clancy game? Or this generation?
Like the Ghost Recon Wildlands and stuff. That's Tom Clancy.
God, man, that stuff went so far under the radar. It's not a game I look out for, but normally you'd see trailers or something.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to compete with like the Far Cry's and Assassin's Creed.
Well, they do Far Cry.
No, I know, but like those are the same kind of games now. Like, you don't really play much of any of those.
No.
Like, you're not really playing Assassin's Creed. You're not playing Far Cry. So there's not really any reason that you would be playing the new Tom Clancy games because they're basically the same.
Yeah, I haven't played like Apex Legends has been the first shooter I've played in, God, I don't know how many years now. Outside of like standard games that I might play like single player, I haven't played a multiplayer style game or large open world first person shooter in some time. But yeah, either way, that's a crazy list. I think that was the end of that list. So in terms of trends to end in 2021, Ryan and I just kind of compiled 3 different things that we would like to see end in 2021. The first one here is caving into consumer and publisher pressure for releases. This is on, I guess, the developer side, but as well as the publisher side too, right? So publishers are likely caving into demand from consumers. And then, of course, the developers have to cave into the publisher, who is pretty much saying you have to get this game out into the market. So looking at, Cyberpunk, and you've got Fallout 76, which that's Bethesda, so they probably would have released it anyways, without crunch or anything along those lines. Just a buggy mess. But, Cyberpunk probably could have done
delay
okay.
it again.
Yeah.
It should have been delayed again for at least like 3 more months. There
shouldn't have been expectations with that game. I think it was back in March we had discussed. It was last week, I want to say, or 2 weeks ago, where they pretty much told, or no, it was last week, because they told their investors, like, yeah, this game is done, it's playable, it's good to go.
Oh, they told them back in January.
Well, yeah, but we mentioned it last week. So yeah, they told them, like, yeah, this game's playable, it's good to go, we'll release it, and then delay. So people are thinking, oh, they're polishing it, it's going to be this awesome game, and then they release what they released. So at the end of the day, a lot of it, I feel, had to do with fan pressure as well, of like, look, we've been waiting so many years for this game, just go ahead and release it, put it on the market, we'll deal with whatever bugs, and then they start crying when there's bugs and they can't handle the game. Another thing might have been, don't release it on PS4. Just say, hey, we've canceled our PlayStation 4 release, it's not going to be compatible with this console, and just move on. Like, I understand where you've put the time and effort into getting that game optimized for the PlayStation 4, but just cut your losses at that point, because now you've created not only a negative PR issue, but you've also pissed off investors and stockholders, and then you're also now taking returns. Like, at the end of the day, you put out a terrible product, a terrible PR, when all you had to do is say,
you're getting sued.
It's just next gen. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that from you?
I mean, yeah, it's just, we've seen this way too much, and it's getting more and more common. Like, and it's just so bold to do it with like a game this big, because it's like nobody was clamoring for Fallout 76 the way that they were clamoring for this. So it's like neither of them is acceptable, but yeah, it's like it's so much more acceptable in today's world to just release it and we'll finish it in post for games, and it's just not. We got to stop that. It's got to stop this year.
Well, Fallout 76, the funny thing about that is like consumers, yeah, they were angry about it, but it was more comical in that we all kind of knew it was going to happen with Bethesda.
Well, and it was going to be a live service game. Like, live service games are never really done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've only got enough content to keep you occupied until they can come up with more content.
Yeah.
And they're designed to be grindy and, you know, something you revisit all the time. This was like a game that's supposed to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, open world. You could explore all you want. You could put as many hours as you want, but like they're not going to just keep throwing stuff at it.
Mm-hmm. The next trend that we have here that needs to end is not controlling bots. So the issue that we've had this entire year, whether it's in the shoe industry, whether it is limited releases that are put out on for various games or collectibles. You know, I've seen it years ago with like the Master Quest version, I guess it was, of the Breath of the Wild, I think, is when they released like that nice version with the sword and everything. So different collector's editions, consoles that we've seen, GPUs, just different parts of CPUs, things that have been released that bots just go in, scoop up a ton, and it's like, well, we have the money to do it, and we're going to make a lot more money because we'll sell it on the third-person market. Like, it's just absurd at this point. Like, you know, I get it that the, you know, at the end of the day, the retailer's like, well, we just want to make our money and we don't care. But you would still make your money if you limited bots and if you put it in a manner that everybody could get their item. Or at least if you're going to let bots buy it, have it, you know, give a 2-week period where people can go in and buy that product in a normal manner. Like, put gates down, you know, put the CAPTCHAs in there, put queues in place, force it to where you have to redeem a code on your cell phone, you know, anything along those lines. Like, do what you need to do to, you know, allow people to get the product that they want to get their hands on. And I think that's the most frustrating part. And it's not necessarily left to the ones creating the products. It's more on the retailer side of things.
Well, and, you know, the retailer, like, I had thought this before, and then I heard somebody say it in a way that made more sense, but it's like the retailer's going to make more money off of selling it to you than they are going to make selling it to a bot.
Yeah.
Because you're going to buy an extra controller and you're going to buy a game. The bot's just going to buy the console.
Yeah.
So it's not that they're getting the same amount of money. They're actually going to be losing those sales through add-ons, which is where most people make their money anyways. That's how the consoles make their money, or the manufacturers make their money. They're not making as much money off of this. You'd think that, oh, they just sell it to the business and then the business sells it to whoever wants to buy it. But no, like, you're hurting the sales for everything by doing this.
Yeah, it's a little absurd. And honestly, one of the biggest things that we've talked about before this year is if you're out there and you've purchased, you know, PlayStation 5 secondhand and you've spent the $800 or $900, whatever you
you're
spent
a fool.
to get it. Yeah, you're not only an idiot, but you're not helping the situation. Like, if you have people, you know, buying 1,000 consoles and the market is slim and there's nothing in the market, just wait. If you wait, then we're not going to have this issue of bots wanting, or, you know, people wanting to purchase 1,000 consoles or 20 consoles in your area. Like, because you're supporting that habit, you're supporting that, you know, the money that they're making. At the end of the day, it's ridiculous. Like, just wait. Like, seriously, you'll do us all a favor in the long run.
Especially if the price comes down.
Yeah, for sure. And the price has gone down with a lot of those consoles. Like, you know, they already made their money. A lot of those, bot guys.
And also, like, what are you really playing?
Yeah.
Like, there hasn't been a lot of release. This is a really weak launch line for all this stuff, especially because almost every game is getting a PS4 version or an Xbox One version still.
Yeah.
Like, of any console generation to sit and wait on, this is the easiest one to sit and wait on.
Yeah. I mean, the stock is low because of a pandemic. Obviously, you don't necessarily need it. It's a want instead of a need. That's all this is. And if you got the money to blow on it, sure, go ahead and blow your money. But at the end of the day, you still are screwing over a number of people because you are, you know, showing support to that behavior on the bot side. The next item that we've got here on Trends Need to End is cleaning up gamer reputation. So this one is all on you, man. This was your big addition to this list.
So after everything that happened with what we talked about in the last article, all the Ubisoft stuff, the backlash for Last of Us, it's terrible that, we're represented in this way as a group by these very loud, bad actors. And gaming has grown so much. I mean, it's overcome, we just talked last week, more than the movie industry and the sports industry put together.
Yep.
So, there's a lot more people coming over, and I mean, I guess it could be the influence of those new people, but either way, like, we got to try to curate ourselves, be better for one another, and just kind of grow up, move on, try to not participate in that kind of negativity, because it's not just this side niche thing. It's like really in the spotlight. And if we don't want to be viewed with like, sideways glances and thought of as, like this, like it's unfair to judge anybody in a group based off of the worst actors. But we got to try to start by cleaning up in the industry, making the industry a better, safer place for workers. And then hopefully, some of that will trickle. There's always going to be idiots on their computer at home, typing away in forums saying the worst of the worst things, or, 12-year-olds yelling slurs into their mics and stuff. Like, you're not going to get rid of everybody, but we could start somewhere and we could start making more positivity. And I'd like to see, especially after how bad this year has been, let's try to leave as much of that behind. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on a lot of forums too, and I can't tell you like how often I'll post like one of our episodes or something we've covered, and somebody will say something snarky, and the rest of the people are like, great, there's no issue. Like I posted on a few different pages this past week, just like what games are you looking forward to playing in 2021 that you hadn't done, like new games resolutions. Dude, I'm telling you, like there might have been one or two negative comments that people just want to be an asshole. The rest of it was just straight up like positive, like, oh man, it's such a great game that you chose. Like I'm actually gonna be playing this, and man, that sounds like a great idea. I should definitely jump in on this and play whatever game that I plan on playing. So there is a lot of positivity out there, but at the same time, gaming has always had like a negative light on it anyways, due to, the violence in certain games. And there's always been critics on the outside looking in saying, video games need to, either violent games be banned or, put a stranglehold on the market for video games and how to produce and such. So there's a lot of stuff out there that's had a negative, like there's a negative view on the video game industry in general and a lot of gamers just historically. So I agree with you, man. Like changing up that reputation, showing that gamers can be better than what they're viewed as is great. And it's not to say that, like, I would say like, what is it? 95% of gamers are not going to, be negative and have those issues. But at the same time that, what is it that saying? It's like if you have one bad apple in the bunch or something, it ruins a bunch or whatever it is.
Something like that.
Yeah. Something along those lines. So,
Speaking of bad apples.
Speaking of bad apples, yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. That was a good
one.
Yeah, good transition, John.
Way to segue.
Yeah, right? So that'll segue into our Apple removes 39,000 game apps from China store to meet the deadline. So this one is by Pei Li at Reuters. And you can go into the deeper details, Ryan, but basically Apple gave the developers in China, or those game app holders in China, a deadline of like, I think it was like June or something, to update their regulation licenses or something on their end to be in compliance with China and the App Store. And those companies decided they were not going to do it. So Apple was generous for once and said, you know what, we'll extend that deadline to December 31st. And again, a ton of people missed out. So 39,000 game apps removed, and that's an addition to like 30,000 apps earlier in the year, apparently.
Yeah, so it says here, including the 39,000 game apps, Apple removed more than 46,000 apps in total from its store on Thursday.
Well, that was Thursday, and then they had also removed, prior to that, I believe, they had removed apps as well earlier in the year for a similar issue. So, yeah, and then, Ryan, you've got your note here. What regarding the big purge in general and how it affected the gaming section.
So 74 of the top 1,500 paid games on the Apple Store survived the purge. So at first when I saw the article, I was thinking like, oh, it's probably a bunch of garbage, because there's got to be so many apps out there on the store that like aren't supported anymore, or somebody made a game, or it's free and who cares, nobody plays it, whatever. There's probably a ton of that stuff, but 1,500 paid, the top 1,500 paid games, that means these are ones that are actually generating revenue, producing content, and only 74 made it. That's so crazy. Like I've never seen numbers like that before. It's got to be hurting a lot of people's bottom line somewhere, like especially because the mobile gaming market is so rampant, especially in China. And I mean, I'm sure that of those top 74 that are in there, I'm sure most of them are probably going to be like Chinese developed games, because they have a big mobile development market over there. And obviously, if anybody's going to already have the license for China, it's going to be a Chinese company.
Yeah.
So a lot of, I'm guessing, foreign companies just decided that they, I don't know what the process for the licensing is. I don't know if it's expensive. I don't know if it makes you have to compromise, what you're putting in your game or whatever to meet up to certain standards. And they just didn't feel it was worth their time to go back in and reinvest more money to change a game that maybe already had stuff, or maybe even games that just like I don't know how many people spent money on South Park Phone Destroyer, but I'm sure that that's probably not a game that people in China are really playing, with all of, South Park's commentary on their practices and stuff. So it's crazy. That seems, and it's just like, could you imagine like 39,000 game apps? That's so many freaking games. Like that is like thousands and thousands of years of man hours of time that went in to develop all this stuff, and now it's just blacklist, gone.
Yeah. No, it's insane, dude.
Never to be seen again by the eyes of anybody in that nation.
Well, and some of these companies will, I'm sure, go through and do the licensing and such after the fact, and this is more of a, hey, you've been removed. Like you're off the store. If you want to come back up, you got to follow in with the regulation. This is more of a deadline of, hit it now or you're being removed. So we'll see. We'll see how this works. Because, down the road, it's not like new apps can't be put on the store. So if somebody is out of compliance right now, they can likely go into compliance after the fact. But still, it's crazy, dude. Like 74 out of the top 1,500 games remaining. That's absurd. All right. Next article we got here is what's next on Google Stadia's roadmap for 2021. Kyle Bradshaw at 9 to 5. And that is 9to5google.com. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So this really just goes into really the things that Google needs to do as a company to be relevant in the gaming industry in 2020. Some of those things on there, and you can go into a little deeper because I'm sure you get the list. But one of the things that really got called out to me on there was exclusives. So having to bring in exclusive titles, as well as updating their graphics in 2021 to meet next gen standards. So what else do we got on there for that list?
Well, so the meeting the next gen graphics standards is something that's actually a real good push, because I believe that Stadia is one of the best places that you can play Cyberpunk, because you don't have to have a next-gen console. You don't have to have a super souped-up PC. You might have to deal with like a little bit of lag, but you're going to get one of the best experiences for the least amount of investment to play on a platform like that. So for them to be able to go through and update, all of the systems, consoles, PCs, whatever tech that they're using to bring you those games, whatever they need to upgrade, it's going to be expensive, and it's probably going to drive up the price of Stadia. I mean, they just gave out, I just got a free $100, controller and a Chromecast Ultra and a free month of Stadia for just having had YouTube Red before. So there's not a lot of room, probably. Like, I don't know how well they're doing exactly, but there's probably not a whole lot of room for them to raise their prices
Well,
because
and-
there's already not a lot of people that are really playing through Stadia, but like to have the better graphics and to be able to play some of these games more reliably, that makes it more enticing, but then the price might keep you away if it's going to be too much, especially because it's not just what you're paying for Stadia. The part that people forget, it's about your God, how much network bandwidth you can use a month, what your internet provider is going to charge you for using all of that data. Gets expensive.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's always steered me away from it is, the bandwidth concern and whatnot. Just really utilizing that or using that up. That's just really what scares me on that setup. But, in general, Alphabet's a huge company. So for them, this is just like a drop in the bucket in terms of investment and seeing how it'll grow. And, I can see 2020 for them, setting up a roadmap. And they have the finances and the ability and time to just sit back and say, you know what, we're going to look at what our competitors are doing, and in both Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo and I guess Amazon being in the fray, and just determining like, here's what we can accomplish in 2021. And I think they have the ability to do that and learn from mistakes and take upon a slower approach and have a slower launch. And of course, the YouTube Red thing definitely is a great way to get the controllers in people's hands. Even if those people just experimented with it for free, they're more likely to be like, oh wow, like if you had 10 in every 100 people that enjoyed it, that's a positive at the end of the day. And that consumer group is going to grow as long as you bring in new consumers on a on a free basis.
Yeah,
come on, like that's just not bad at all. And all it takes is 1 month to be like, yeah, this isn't for me, or yeah, this is great and I got this free controller out of it.
Yeah.
Or hell, even sell it on the third person market or third party market and get it to somebody who actually does want that controller.
Well, and once they so another thing on here that they have is moving it over to Android TV support. So that'll
sounds good. Yeah.
That'll create a lot of more people that are able to connect and play without having to invest as much, because you should be able to use your own controllers. I don't know exactly how you hook up a controller to a TV, but there's got to be a way to do it. Android TV must have apps, like maybe you just download 6-axis the same way you would download it on your phone to hook up a Sony controller or something. But getting it out there for more people to be able to have access to it. Obviously, there's not really a chance that it's going to be coming to Apple anytime soon, as they were already, denying other platforms like that earlier this year. But like, I love my iPad. If I could just set my iPad up tent style and hook a controller up and play, Cyberpunk wherever I was, like that is an undeniably cool thing to be able to do. So there's a lot of future room for that, but they need to add a bunch of features first.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of missing features. Apparently it's very hard to navigate your library. There is no search function. I remember we talked when the Epic Store launched, and for a while after, the Epic Store was missing a lot of critical features that people have, flocked to Steam for over the years and built up a huge community around like this robust system that's got too much going on it. And having a much more curated system, but that's more difficult to manage and doesn't really have all the stuff you're looking for, because those things take time. Like Steam didn't start as a finished product, and neither will anything else really. So they need to develop more of that kind of side. We talked about getting the player base up, getting more stuff in their library. I mean, they've got a bunch of cool stuff out. They did the Phoenix Rising thing. Not Phoenix Rising, that's the soccer team.
I don't even remember, dude.
Sounds like anyways, they've got other stuff out there like Super Bomberman free, Destiny 2 free, like free to play stuff. Again, I don't know that I would want to play. I put 125 hours into Destiny 1. So it's like, that's a lot of bandwidth. So if I'm going to be streaming that
and playing it,
it's going to cost me probably
extra
a lot of money for a free game.
Yeah.
even if I don't invest anything. So, you know, smaller titles like Fall Guys or Hades that were like big viral launches. I mean, I'd say Among Us too. It's not on here, but you know, that would be, I don't know, maybe that's too hard to do on a console. Maybe that's better on a phone because you can type or voice chat easier. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. Stadia exclusives, graphics upgrade. Yeah, we pretty much covered everything on here. It's probably not going to be done. Like, I would like to see where we're going to be at with Stadia come the end of 2021, how much of this stuff they were actually able to accomplish, because the longer it takes them, the more time that the competitors are going to have to really start ramping up, like Amazon's Luna and xCloud.
Yeah.
So once those really hit the market, like especially with Game Pass, like Microsoft is going to be the one that's going to launch and kill it in this space. Like they'll definitely have that recognized name brand reliability with already like a built up audience, a developed, you know, system. Like if anybody's going to hit it out of the park once xCloud really gets out there on all kinds of platforms,
yeah,
that'll be a game changer for sure. And it'll force Google to make these moves quicker if they want to be able to keep pace and not be left behind.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Well, of course, you know, let us know your thoughts on Stadia and every other topic we talked about on our social media pages and, of course, our website, thegamedeflators.com. But let's go into our next piece here, dude. So this is the inflation deflation for RoboCop 3 on the Sega Genesis. There's various versions. I think there's an SNES version, NES version on here. There's probably a Game Boy version for all I know.
Oh, there's way more than that, John, because this game has like a couple like very different versions. Like, oh, where is it? Hold on.
Well, while
Sorry.
you look, I'll get into
Unprepared.
our other things here. So, developed by Doolittle Image Design? Is that spelled right?
Digital.
Okay, Digital Image Design.
Come on, John. Use context clues.
Well, you have DOGI, so it'd be one thing if it was like DIGO. So, Digital Image Design and Probe Software, and then it's published by Flying Edge and Oxwin Entertainment. I think you spelled that wrong too. Oxwin Software. This was released in Ocean. God, you see, folks. Ryan is setting me up for failure here.
I was typing on my phone.
Okay, well, it should have been easier. Autocorrect. Released in 1991. It is a platform shooter, and then reception for this. There's obviously a lot of different versions, but they range from 40-ish to about 90, with the Genesis version falling right in the middle.
Yeah. So there's this is on like Amiga, Atari, DOS, Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Like this is on like everything. And there's like very big differences in the different types of game. We're doing the side scroller platform shooter version.
You know, it sounds like we need to do a RoboCop 3 day and play every single one of those versions and compare every single one of them.
Do you have those other consoles?
No, and thank God I don't. Okay. No, I don't have I have some of those consoles, but like the Amiga, I don't have that. You know, I might have RoboCop on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, so like it says here, the Amiga version received positive reviews for its music and 3D graphics. We got none of that.
Yeah.
John did like the music on.
We got the music
on our one we played.
Hey, look, I actually wasn't very disappointed by this game. Now, my determination on inflate or deflate might be different, but yeah, so I like the music. I did like the controls. For me, it felt pretty good. It wasn't bad. You know, the one thing I didn't like was that damn robot thing that kept shooting homing missiles at us, and you're trying to, you know, the difficulty spike on that game was ridiculous.
It was a hard game. Like we said earlier, we had to switch from normal to easy. Otherwise, we would have been like, not much to talk about here. It was a difficult game. We failed the first level for 40 minutes and then gave up.
And you didn't see when I got into like the second level how it worked out. So you go up this ramp and you're being fired on from below, but you don't see the enemies yet. So you're like, where the hell are these bullets coming from? There's like bullets coming in multiple directions. You finally find them. You take a ton of damage when you get to the top. You get and I can't believe this was on easy mode. You then get your energy, of course, on the way up. And then when you're going down, okay, you have like these robot things shooting beams at you and like literally just flying across. Some of them big, some of them small. So you're like just multiple dodges, trying to hit things with your laser gun. it's just hard. Dude. Classic hard game. Like, honestly, I kind of think Ghouls and Ghosts is easy compared to this. But yeah, so that's where I was. I did enjoy what we played. I did think it was a lot of fun. The music was very good. The controls were very good to me. And, that actual firing of guns and the way that everything was on screen seemed pretty clean for the most part, given that we played it on a 4K TV on a Genesis.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of affection for RoboCop. I remember I had a RoboCop action figure when I was a kid, and I know that it's not really a kid's movie. I don't remember, having watched it a bunch. I definitely have not seen it. If I saw it when I was a kid, I've not seen it since. So, I don't know. It wasn't really something that I was, super jazzed to play, and obviously it was classic hard, and is not something that I'd be super jazzed to play again. I had an okay time with it. It's one of those games that there's so many other games out there that are this same game with a different skin on it. This one just happens to have a RoboCop skin on top. So I could really take it or leave it. I'm sure that there's better and worse versions than this game out there.
Yeah. And, honestly, I think when I picked this game up, it was sitting at $5 or $10 when I grabbed it.
A much more reasonable price.
And it's not to say the game is terrible. It's not a bad game by all means, but you're right. There's other games.
It's generic.
Yeah. There's other games that have the same concept that are better than this one. And if you're a RoboCop fan and this is what you want to play, great. This is actually the best one, apparently, out of the 3 RoboCop games, 1, 2, and 3, whatever they released. This is supposed to be the best one out of those 3 games, assuming there was 3. So, yeah.
One thing you could definitely say that this game has going for it from a collector's standpoint is it is a licensed game, and those licenses expire. So it's not like you're going to see a RoboCop 3 re-release for a retro console or anything in the future. If you were going to buy this game, you would have to buy this game.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is pretty cool in general. I would say that based on the brass tacks we have here, complete in box, $42, which is actually the peak right now, and it's trending up, which is crazy. And then the loose price being, we'll say $15 is $14.99, and that's also trending up, and it's at its peak. It's
probably
cool.
just because it's Sega. Genesis must be in its time of everybody's trying to buy it and collect it, and
maybe
because it's just been rising and rising for the last few years. It doesn't look like this game's ever really been at a flat line. It's kind of peaked and valleyed, but always been on its way up.
Yeah, which is surprising because it's cool, but like you said, it's a different skin in a sense, and it's not amazing. So yeah, I would say and we'll say we'll look at the most expensive version here and the cheapest version. You've got a complete in box PAL NES version sitting at $92.70, and then the cheapest version is a loose NES copy sitting at $9.49. Assuming the NES version is the same as the Genesis version.
It's not.
It's not?
Well,
Okay.
I mean, it can't be. Genesis...
style.
It do what Nintendo don't.
That's true. Jesus Christ, man. Assuming it's the same style is what I'm saying.
And it's not even the SNES.
I know.
It's probably I would like to see the difference.
I'm going to Google that difference.
Well, while John's Googling that difference, I'll fill in the time by telling you that you can find us anywhere on social media. You can find us at Twitter at Game Deflators. You can find us at Instagram and Facebook at The Game Deflators. You can let us know what you think about RoboCop. Was he a good cop? Was he a bad cop? Was he both?
Actually, dude, oh my God. RoboCop 3 on the Genesis, that actually looks pretty clean, dude. That looks good.
That's the NES?
I mean, on the NES, sorry, not the Genesis. That looks
actually, it does look pretty good.
Yeah, so we'll say it's about the same, right?
It's so weird. I know that the NES has a lot more, depth than I often remember it.
I like that.
I just always think of, Super Mario Bros. For NES, and I'm like, there's no way any game looks very good on that console, because I just think back to that classic, the first thing they tried.
Yeah. Well, given that it looks kind of similar, I would say if you got the itch for RoboCop 3 and you want to play it, grab the NES version or grab a loose copy on the Genesis if you're that interested in it. I honestly think this game at a complete in box rate is highly inflated. Given what I paid for it several years back, and where it was sitting. You said it was what, like $5, like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
For a loose copy. Like, come on, it's triple in price basically. It's not worth it. What is your thought? Are you going to go inflated as well?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like I
All right.
said, I mean, this is one of those games, again, it's a licensed game, so it's got a few different people that might be interested in it. You know, either people that want all the Genesis games. This is a game for you. People that love RoboCop and collect RoboCop merch. This is something you could pick up, although if you're just into RoboCop, you could probably pick up any version. And again, you could go with the cheaper version.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of people out there that I would really recommend this game for. And if you were to find it for a screaming deal, $6 out in the wild somewhere, I guess go for it. If you can find it for $20 complete in box, buy it, sell it, make your money back, and buy something else.
Yeah, exactly. Buy
This
something
is
better.
a good flip game if
Yeah.
you can find it.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with you on that one. Well, yeah, look, you got our rating on the bottom there, so I'll have to put it so we don't forget what we scored this damn thing. Yeah, dude, so that's all I got for this week. Don't buy RoboCop unless it's a good deal. That's our end of the day. It's inflated. Ryan, we got to decide what we want to play next week. I'm kind of along the lines of let's play another Genesis game.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do another. We haven't done a lot of Genesis love in the last, I don't know, 80 episodes. So let's give a little Genesis love. Well, that being said, this has been episode 113 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John,
I'm Ryan.
and thanks for listening.